Hi, okay, so I'm back with a review slash rant. Not really a rant, more of a review this one. For the new, I say new, Alien film. It's been out for a while, but luckily I managed to catch it before it's gone from cinemas, which is Alien Romulus. Um, I know I'm a bit late, very late to party on this one. I still want to do a review for it because I adore the Alien films, especially the first two, Alien and Aliens, two of my all-time favourites. Saw Aliens when I was like 9. It scared the crap out of me, and I've loved it ever since. I've loved the Alien as a creature, and of course loved Predator as well. But the Alien, I think, is always a bit better. But the Alien franchise, the last 20 years, like since I've been old enough to go to see them at the cinema, unfortunately, because I wasn't old enough to see Alien or Aliens at the cinema when I grew up. But luckily, I've seen both of them at the cinema on re-releases. I think I've seen Aliens twice at the cinema and Alien once at the cinema, the original Alien. Um, and of course, but the last few years, say, ever since Alien 3, it's been going downhill really. Like, I don't mind Alien 3, it's okay, but it has a lot of problems. It's certainly not the standard of the first two. I don't think anyone can argue. Even the most devout fan of Alien 3 wouldn't be able to argue that it's on the same level as Alien or Aliens, I don't think. And then it got worse after Alien 3, to be honest with you. Like, Alien Resurrection was absolutely awful. Like, one of the worst films I've seen ever, really, and completely killed the Alien franchise for years and years and years. And then with Alien vs Predator, which was okay, the first one, and the second one was awful. Like, again, one of the worst films of all time. So Aliens really struggled to catch a break over the last 20 years or so. And then we've had the Prometheus and Alien Covenant films that came out, but those were sort of odd beasts because they weren't really proper Alien films. They sort of have you in a bit, but they were sort of something different. It was very confused, that, and I like Prometheus a lot actually, and I like Alien Covenant quite a bit too, but they both got flaws in terms of what the things are. Like, they seem to have an identity crisis going on. Like, they don't really know whether it's a film about aliens, whether it's a film about the engineers who created the aliens, and it just feels like they didn't really get exactly what they were making, or it changed or something. I don't know. So I like both those movies, but again, they're not on the level of Alien or Aliens at all. And I would never say they are, but I do enjoy those two films, and I think it's a shame he didn't get to finish off the planned trilogy they had. But there we go, that's a story for another day. So, talking about Alien Romulus today. So, I really enjoyed it. I actually thought it was really, really good. It's very much like a Force Awakens situation for Aliens. So you have your callbacks. You have your callbacks to the famous shots from Alien, and it almost, to some point when the first film was started, I was like, "Oh right, okay, this is going to be a literal remake of Alien." I thought we were in for like a Gus Van Sant Psycho situation where you've just remade the first Alien shot for shot, and I was like, "Please don't do that. It will be completely pointless if that's what you've done." But it's not. It's not actually. Like, once the film got a bit further, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I was invested in the characters almost straight away. I think that's one of the best things I can say about it is within about 10 minutes of this movie, I was fully invested in the characters. I cared about them, and I cared about what happened to them. And it was really quick to do that. It goes to show you don't need to spend hours and hours or films and films and films building up characters or establishing characters to care about them. And I really did. Like, I really honestly did care about these characters. It's the first time I've really cared about characters in an Alien film since Aliens, really, because, like, one of the problems with Alien 3 was like, well, A, there were hundreds of characters in that because it was all these, like, prisoners and inmates. B, they all had shaved heads, so you're almost identical. She couldn't identify who from who was this character, who's that character. And C, like, they were reformed criminals, but they were criminals. Like, some of them were rapists, murderers, and stuff. Like, one of the main characters, he was like he was a rapist. It's like, it's a bit difficult to really care about a character that's got such a horrible backstory. Like, it might have been better if they'd been prisoners who'd been thrown in that prison for things that they shouldn't have been thrown in there for, like maybe a modern equivalent would be like if they were gay or if they were disabled or something, they got chucked in this prison and actually they hadn't done anything wrong. That would have made them more sympathetic. But because they were literal actual convicts, I just didn't care about them. Not really, apart from Ripley. And in that movie, Ripley was weirdly immune to the aliens, so it was kind of tensionless because the alien wasn't going to actually get her. She was going to get all the others, but I didn't care about them. And there's just too many characters, so it just became a gore fest with like character, all the prisoners one by one getting killed by the end, and I was just like, well, I don't really care about any of these characters, so it's not really that scary. Alien Resurrection was even worse because, again, the characters I liked even less in Alien Resurrection. Didn't even like Ripley anymore. Ripley wasn't even Ripley. It was this weird clone version. Anyway, Alien Resurrection is just dreadful. So yeah, I'm not even going to get in there. But really, with this one, it did feel like, without getting spoilers, overall, it's the best Alien film has been since Aliens. It's not as good as those first two. It's still on a level lower than those, but it's still a level much, much higher than all the others. And the sort of going back to the basics definitely helps. Of like, it's a much more standard Alien type setup, and there are a lot of callbacks to Alien and Aliens in it, in terms of lines, in terms of things that happen, in terms of shots. But I think it's well shot. I think it is beautifully shot, actually, if I'm honest. It's definitely worth seeing at the cinema. And although it's not got quite the same like awesome direction as something like the first Alien, you're never going to get that again, So it's still as close as you're going to get. And I don't really want to get into spoilers because weird enough, there are a couple of spoilers in it. There are a couple of things where I took me by surprise, and I don't want to spoil those. But actually, the two things I can say is that it isn't just a one-to-one recreation of Alien. There are some new ideas there. There are some new things to it that make it a bit more different than just a regular, we're just going to copy Alien again. I wish I spent a bit more time with some of those ideas because they were very rushed through. It was like we talked about it, but we didn't really see it, and then the movie just moved on. And I was like, oh, actually, that was actually interesting. Like, can we not say a bit more on this? And the main core of the film, again, female main character. Unfortunately, I can't remember her name. Her name escapes, but she was good. She was a really good actress, really likable. Sort of flawed character too, and not a super tough girl boss, which was nice. Like, she was just like a regular girl, and she could be strong when she needed to be, and she could be scared when she needed to be. And like, I like that, that the characters just felt like regular kids. They didn't feel like perfect, super tough. Like, it could have gone down that route. It could have been awful. Like, tried to recreate Ripley again or something. It wasn't like that. And I mean, the characters in Prometheus were just flat out stupid. Like, there's no going around it. But in this, they felt like, you've got to give characters a good reason for going into the lion's den for it to make sense. Like, it's always a problem with horror, is like, why would someone put themselves in a potentially extremely dangerous situation like that? Like, why would they walk down that dark alley where there's, what I mean, that sort of thing. And that's what makes horror quite dumb sometimes, when, a character's just doing something ridiculously stupid that's obviously going to mean they get killed or something, and then they just like, But with this, like, actually, honestly, it was good. Like, it was well reasoned why they were there, what they were doing, why they were in that position, and why they would be out of their depth with that situation, not be aware of, because they don't even know what the alien is in this timeline, at this part of the timeline. No one's even know what the alien is, so they wouldn't really know what the hell they were getting into. And it did work. It did make sense. Everyone's character motivations made sense. Everyone's like reasons for doing things made sense, in my opinion. Had some really good tense moments here and there in it. I think it went on a bit long. Like, I think the third act dragged a bit, and I think that the callbacks got a little bit much by the end. I was a little like, but it felt like the first two acts, it was more pushing its own identity with a couple of callbacks, and the third act felt more like it fell directly into referencing specific Alien bits from Alien films with lines and stuff and other things, and I felt like it didn't need to have done that as much. And like, it felt like one of those films where it just wasn't ending. Like, there's a big sort of climatic bit that you think, oh, that's really cool, that's the ending, and it's like, no, there's another bit, and you're like, all right, that's really cool, that's the ending, and like, no, there's another bit, there's just more bits. And I realised that Aliens did that itself. Like, it ended and then it didn't end. There was another extra bit at the end, but that was like super cool. This, it felt a little bit towards the end like I was like, just dragged it out a tiny bit, but still overall I enjoyed the film. There was one character that they brought back from the original Alien, and because the actor has now passed away, so they did it with a CG head, and that looked shit. That looked absolutely awful. I was looking at it going, why? Like, if you don't have the money to do it, just don't do it. Just like use the voice or something, or use archive footage. It looked awful. Like, it looked really bad, and that was one of the things I didn't like. It did take me out of the film. Every time we cut back to a specific character, I'm not going to say who it is, I was just like, what? like, why does this look so bad? I mean, I know visual effects and stuff, but the rest of the visuals in the film look great. It was just a shame this CG character looked really CG, looked really bad. It looked something like 10 years ago. It looked like a Tron Legacy level CG. It was really poor. So, yeah, that was a bit of a shame. Good to have a character back in a way, but also not good to have him back in a way where he was obviously not a real character. So that was my biggest negative. But yeah, I don't really get into any spoilers with it, but I enjoyed it, and I think it's sort of put the Alien franchise back on track. I think, hopefully, finally. I know there's another Alien TV show coming out. I'll be interested to see that. So, and I think one of the nice things about it was that I really liked, and I was quite surprised at, was it was still set in the same world as Alien and Aliens. It wasn't a full-on reboot. I just assumed this was going to be complete not a reboot, like it wasn't going to reference anything else. It was going to start again from fresh. But it's not. It is actually still set in the same world, and there are links to the other Alien films. There's links to Prometheus and stuff, which I was surprised about. So it's good that it's gone for the soft reboot option, and you're still in that world. It still feels like the same world, but Alien and Aliens inhabited. And that's what I liked about it. It's like it's nice to be back in that world of like back towards the stuff with the corporate greed and the company and Weyland-Yutani and it's screwing over people. Like that was always the core of what Alien and Aliens were about. And then that became enough. That became nothing. Like Alien 3 didn't feel like it was set in the same world at all as the first two Aliens. And yet at the very end, you had someone come in from Weyland-Yutani, which improved it a little bit, but it still didn't overall feel like it was set in that same world. And then Alien Resurrection felt like it was a completely different freaking franchise. Didn't even feel like it was remotely set in the same universe. And that was thousands. That was like 200 years later or something. So it was awful, Alien Resurrection. It was really, really shit. So yeah, this was good. So it's got me cautiously optimistic that Alien come back on track. And hopefully we can get more stuff. If it's to this quality and standard, I'd like it. I'd also like something a bit more original, but at the same time, when we tried it, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, I know it sort of blew up in the faces a bit, so we'll just see. We'll see how it goes.